Politics Today, live on Channels Television. I am Sean Wakimale here in Abuja. Let's begin by letting you know that President Bola Tinubu will be cutting short his work vacation. He's returning to the country ahead of schedule and will return to Abuja tomorrow, the 16th of September 2025, to resume official duty. The president departed for France on the 4th of September to spend part of his annual holiday and was initially scheduled to divide a period between staying in France and the United Kingdom. Last week in Paris, President Tinubu was seen in a photo at a private luncheon with his French counterpart, President Emmanuel Macron. Both leaders reviewed key areas according to the presidency of cooperation between Nigeria and France and agreed to deepen the partnership for mutual prosperity and global stability. Atiku is saying that there might be a revolution compared to what we saw in the Arab Spring if the Tinubu government does not sit up and deal with the issue of poverty in the land. That gets us talking. And perhaps you've seen the pictures in Katsina where armed bandits are sitting for negotiation to drop their arms, and in fact, they get some incentives for doing that. That gets our attention. How do we manage the fragile peace in the country? That gets also get us talking on the program. But first, before we get talking, let's check out some of your political roundup stories.
The Coordinating Minister of Health and Social Welfare, Professor Mohammed Ali Pate, says the administration of President Bola Tinubu remains fully committed to eradicating Lassa fever and other emerging infectious diseases while strengthening regional health security across West Africa. He made the remark at the opening ceremony of the ECOWAS Lassa Fever International Conference 2025 in Abidjan, Côte d'Ivoire. Professor Pate emphasized that Lassa fever, first discovered in northeastern Nigeria, has continued to claim lives for decades, threatening health systems, attacking frontline workers, and undermining regional health security. Nigeria's Inspector General of Police, Kaude Betokun, was leading the country's delegation to the Global Public Security Cooperation Forum in Liaoyugang, China. The three-day gathering, which runs from September 16 to 18, is bringing together police chiefs, security ministers, and law enforcement experts from around the world to exchange strategies on fighting transnational crime and advancing global safety. The invitation came directly from the Chinese government, and the IGP's presence places Nigeria firmly in the conversation on international security cooperation. Meanwhile, Chief Justice Musa Liman of the Federal High Court Abuja has sent back to the Chief Judge a motion filed by the leader of the proscribed indigenous people of Biafra, IPOB, Nnamdi Kanu, for reassignment. Kanu, the motion expert, is seeking an order of the court transferring him to the National Hospital Abuja for urgent medical attention. In a short ruling, Justice Liman ordered the transfer of the case file back to the CJ of the Federal High Court following an application by Kanu's counsel, Uchenna Njoku, SAN, considering the fact that the annual vacation of the court would end on September 15. The Ogun State Governor, Dr. Abiodun, has announced the approval of the Ogun State Division of the Federal Court of Appeal to be sited in Abeokuta, the state capital, towards effective justice delivery. He announced the cheering news during the 2025-2026 special church service marking the new legal year held at the Cathedral of St. Peter's, Ake, in the state capital. In Kwara State, some political leaders and opinion molders from Kwara South Senatorial District have thrown their weight behind President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's second-term bid, declaring that his administration has attracted recognition and opportunities to the district. Speaking at the Kwara South Leaders Roundtable in Ora, Irekwadun local government area, the speaker said the district had every reason to align with President Tinubu and the All Progressives Congress APC because of their appointments and federal attention given to their people. The chairman of the Caretaker Committee of the People's Democratic Party, PDP in Edo State, Anthony Azegbemi, believes that the party is on its way back to power in 2027 due to the poor performance of the ruling All Progressives Congress, APC, both at the state and the national levels. Mr. Azegbemi stated this during a press briefing at the party's state secretariat in Benin City, the Edo State capital, following the conclusion of the World Congresses, where 17 member executives were re-elected in each of the 192 wards in the state. Lastly, some members of the Arawa Youth Assembly are asking citizens to support the Chief of Defense Staff and other military chiefs in the renewed clearance operations to push end the Boko Haram insurgency and banditry in the country. Addressing a news conference in Abuja, the group's publicity secretary, Mr. Aliyu Mohammed, criticized what he described as a blackmail by some individuals for selfish and political interest. According to the group, the current leadership of the armed forces has recorded significant achievement, including the elimination of key Boko Haram and ISWAP commanders in Zamfara, Kaduna, and Niger State.
Thank you so much, everyone, for staying with us. Let's tell you about the state of our economy. Today, the Nigerian Bureau of Statistics has released the latest inflation figure, and the headline inflation rate is now eased to 20.12%. That is of August 2025. If you compare it to July, it's really declined compared to July rate of 21.88%. According to the data released by the NBS, it says the rate showed a decrease of 1.76% as against the July 2025 headline inflation rate. The Statistics Office says in its report that the month-on-month headline inflation rate in August 2025 was 0.74%, while the food inflation rate was at 1.65% on a monthly basis. So let's now track Nigeria's inflation journey. And let's look at the trend and the picture, what it looks like from May 2023 to August 2025. A story of sharp rises, painful peaks, and now a cautious decline. At the height in March 2024, you can see that inflation hits 33.95%, the highest in 2 decades, squeezing households and fueling hardship across the country. But since April 2025, the numbers have been easing, reaching 21.88% by July, with August now seeing a downward trend, which had continued for about 3 to 4 consecutive trend that we have followed for you stubbornly. High at 22.7%, keeping daily essentials out of reach for millions. So is this a disinflation, a sign of relief, a real relief for the Nigerian people, just a temporary pause before the next surge? But let's look at, if you look at the bar chart and you look at the trend on the graph, the way it peaked, it gives you a story which is perhaps should be good news if the reality and the real indices are affecting the bottom line of average person. But there's one person that doesn't believe that this is any significant to the pockets and the food on the table of the average person. It's the former Vice President Atiku Abubakar, who is raising strong concerns over what he calls the worsening hunger and poverty crisis in Nigeria. In a statement released by his office today, Mr. Atiku Abubakar described as the situation as unacceptable, accusing the Tinubu-led APC administration of neglecting its primary duty to safeguard the welfare of citizens. He warned that the deepening hardship is pushing millions into misery and could trigger high levels of crime, terrorism, and kidnappings across the country. Drawing parallels with global history, Atiku pointed to the French and Russian revolutions, as well as the Arab Spring, where hunger and frustration ignited violent political eruptions. He further linked Nigeria's own NSAS protests to government insensitivity and the frustrations of youth battling poverty. 2 years into the administration, Mr. Atiku argues that there are still no clear signs of solutions to food insecurity, insisting that reforms must have a human face. And according to him, the reality is stark. The poor are dying of hunger, while the majority struggle to survive under what he described as ill-advised policies of the Tinubu government. When you ask the people in government, they will tell you that it might be a painful curve, but then we are going to see a better day ahead. Atiku Abubakar does not believe that the situation of the country is a better day. He's believing that this could spark some kind of revolution. Let's speak with a man who speaks for the party. He's the National Public Secretary of the APC, Mr. Felix Muka. It's a good pleasure. It's a pleasure having you on the program tonight. Thank you so much indeed. According to the former Vice President, it's of the notion that your party has impoverished Nigerians and deepened more people into poverty, and he worries that this could lead to trouble, calamity for our nation, and could lead to uprising and a revolution.
Thank you so much. at this point, I want to believe that Atiku is not in this country, does not live in Nigeria, is completely out of touch with what goes on in this country. I think he just goes back to his old notebooks and then picks up a headline and then begins to write as he does. Because if Atiku were paying attention to the unfolding economic program of this government, he won't make the kind of statements that he made today. And it's actually surprising that Atiku will make these statements on a day when every major news station or newspaper is reporting the lowering of our inflation numbers. I mean, what a day to choose to make those incendiary comments. Now, is he inciting a revolution in this country? Is that what he's meaning to do? Because he was former vice president, I want to hesitate to suggest that that's what he's doing. But, it's actually grossly disappointing when a man who was entrusted with power as vice president of the Federal Republic, who governed for 8 years, who had the opportunity over 8 years to eradicate poverty, to end hunger, to end insecurity, to end, anything suggestive of deprivation, of Nigerians. He did it in 8 years with his principal at the time. They did it. And then they handed over to, another government that governed for 8 years. They also did not eradicate poverty, Sheung. You see, so when people sit down, and begin to make these sort of statements that are provocative, it's really wrong, and it's very unfortunate. Now, I'm not going to dwell on Atiku's statement. I think that Nigerians are watching, and I don't believe that Nigerians are paying attention to what he says, because they know why he says them. He is desperate for power. He thinks that by vilifying government, by making these false statements, that Nigerians will wake up tomorrow and make him president. Nigerians have rejected him so many times that actually I don't think these Nigerians are considering of making Atiku president. So the man needs to rest. He served Nigeria as he did, but I think today he has become, quite frankly, irrelevant to any consideration of prosperity for the future of our country.
The question we should be asking ourselves, forget Atiku Abubakar, forget any other person talking. We should look at the meat of the matter, look at the issue that are being raised here. The narratives are there, the two narratives of the opposition warning about hunger spiraling out of control and the government's assurance that painful reforms today will translate into stability tomorrow. The big question remains, how soon will citizens begin to feel the real relief?
Sheung, look, I'm surprised you're asking this question. In your intro, you said it. This president had to initiate reforms that were meant to tackle age-old problems that created the foundation of all of what we speak about as poverty, whether monetary poverty or whether it's multidimensional poverty. Those things were created, they were constructed socially and economically by those who governed this country prior.
So was it deliberate effort in impoverishing the Nigerian people?
It was simply the failure of those who came along earlier to do what had to be done.
Including Buhari of your party.
When I speak about government, I speak of government as a continuum. So we have a president who assumed office just over 2 years ago. Every president has come before now, did what they thought they had to do. They did that. My point is that this president, on assumption of office, decided that those presidents who came before him had not gone far enough to tackle the root of the problem. It's one thing to treat symptoms of a disease, of a malaise. It's another to properly diagnose the problem and to solve it, with the kind of medication or prescription or therapy that is required. That's what this president is doing. He's been very scientific. You put up a chart earlier showing, inflation. Yes, what you saw at the peak was the peak of, inflation that resulted momentarily from certain policies that had to be, implemented, and which this president found courage to implement.
So the question I was going, I mean, that's the reason why I stepped in to ask is it including Buhari, who is the government of the APC, because before Buhari came into office, inflation was at 9%.
No.
And Buhari left it in two digits.
No, please. We've had this conversation over and over again. When you say that, because I see you, sometimes when you speak of today's numbers, you do your best to point out where there are gaps and where you think there are narratives that are not justified by reality. The Jonathan government and all of the governments before Jonathan had operated an economy that was phantom. That's how I describe it. Phantom because nothing about that economy was real. Look.
So it was a fait accompli that Buhari walked into. Was that what we said?
No, Buhari was a correctional president. He came in to try to hold still, events and trends that were, sitting right on the edge of the precipice. Buhari came to hold so that Nigeria does not tip over, as the PDP at the time, over 16 years, had pushed this country. So Buhari was actually a stabilizer. He came to keep Nigeria still, and he did that because, no one, if you were president, following up on Jonathan, I bet with all your knowledge and your goodwill, you will not have solved, even just a small aspect of the humongous mess that was made by that administration.
Although the fact, the figures, and the information available does not support that, just for a moment, especially in the CBN under Emefiele, that got repositioned into office under the Buhari government. A CBN that has been accused of so many atrocities under the same Buhari government that you said came to stabilize this country.
Yes, he did. Stabilizing is not about shock therapy. If you expected the Buhari administration to just step in and vacate the table, that's also not a pragmatic way of addressing problems. So what he did, what, I don't think that's even, why are we discussing Buhari and you're not willing to discuss, the 16 years before Buhari? Because that's where the mess was made. Buhari did not was not the author of a lot of the problems that he had to contend with, and that, were in some ways also left and presented to this president to deal with. Economically speaking, for example, why did we have this sort of, sordid and almost, fraudulent foreign exchange system that we've had for years, where somebody sits down and simply picks a figure that's convenient and says this is the value of our currency, that deprived us of the opportunity and the benefits of economic evolution in a way that is sustainable, like this government is doing. You see, today, you can see, after the subsidy was removed and the Naira was floated, we saw all of the haywire. Things just went, into a tailspin. But, the pilot has since regained control of the ship of state. And today, you're seeing more stability in our foreign exchange relations. The arbitrage that was almost, 40 Naira on a dollar has literally disappeared. Giving confidence to investors to come in, which is also why local producers are beginning now to produce more. Our balance of trade, balance of payments has been very, very positive. Today in Africa, we have the best balance of trade, position of all the countries on the continent. So we're on the move. The likes of Atiku Abubakar, look, our illustrious stateswoman, Dr. Okonjo-Iweala, made the point. He says, look, that this president must be given credit for stabilizing the economy. And the economy has since stabilized. We are beginning to see the benefits, coming.
Stability and growth are not the same thing.
Look, the economy is growing.
You might be right at the edge and not slippery. You might be slipping through the slope. I'm just trying to explain that.
I got you.
Stability, yes, good, in the sense that...
Thanks for acknowledging, Seun.
I always acknowledge the good things.
That's good.
And for the information of our viewers, I am a very good student of political economics. And let's get a fact here. put political biases aside, and when I'm going to say things that are factual, I try as much as possible to allow Nigerians to remove the APC, PDP, ADC, and whatever biases that they have. Remove it.
Yes.
In this country, we do know that, and give Tinubu a little break, at least in the first year, which we are supposed to have seen some kind of sense of the direction where he was supposed to lead this country. Now, as a government, as a president in this country, you have no power to execute more than 2.5 or 3, at most 3 or so budgets in 4 years. 4 years is a difficult period to stabilize and get a nation really out of the conundrum. And the reason why I'm bringing the debate about Buhari, Buhari has left an economy that was difficult, and that's why sometimes I will praise the light of Wale Edu, praise the likes of Cardoso, because you really had worked in a most terrible economic situation at a fiscal or otherwise, any kind of aspect of the economy, difficult to manage, because that's what he left to us. In those 8 years, it was easy for our country to make a turn, because in 8 years, Buhari took us for a single digit in indices, in almost our economy indices, took us to double digit. But the real fact here is that, can Tinubu get us in 2 years out of the conundrum that we are in? Almost impossible. But should we have seen the signs? Yes, it's possible. So that's where the question comes. Are we seeing, just for a moment, I'm asking the question right now, are we able to see the signs of better days ahead? And this is a question I always ask your party members and those in government. If you have preached renewed hope, you can only preach renewed hope not just because of anything, but because you discover that we are in a big mess. So when you say there is renewed hope, it means that you are working on something. Can you tell Nigerians tonight what they can hold on tangibly, beyond the figures and the narratives, that give us 3 months, give us 6 months, Nigeria is going to get better? Sure. What are the prices and the differences, sure. Mr. Moka? Sure.
This president was elected for a constitutional 4-year term. Mm-hmm. He's done 2, just, slightly over 2 years. So, Shehu, just recently, some candidates in the, prospective aspirants in the opposition movement suggested that they were willing to give guarantees to serve, a single 4-year term. And some of their colleagues, their co-travelers in the opposition, came out to say that's unrealistic. You cannot do anything meaningful in 4 years.
Anybody who understands governance will know that 4 years is...
So, when you ask this question about the 2-year mark, mm-hmm. you ask a question that suggests that this president should offer Nigerians proof that in 2 years, that he has literally, rewritten the script of prosperity for Nigeria. He has, in fact, done that. But 2 years is not the timeline for that conversation. You see, today, if you want to take the 2-year mark, this president has done, as I've said on your show before, what no president has done in 2 years. Because it's not just about the achievements. You must also look at the input. What has this president done? Because if you want to assess how other presidents before him performed, you must also assess what they did different from others. What did they do that suggested that they had vision, they had courage, they had determination, and they have love for country? No president can actually put anything on that input side. So the economy was just coasting as given. You fix the value of the naira, you get your friends to trade and benefit from the arbitrage, you propagate patronage all over the place. Mm-hmm. You simply let the economy move on autopilot. This president said no, that I will tinker with the fundamentals. Mm-hmm. He did that to address the structural problems and the generationally constructed dilemmas that this economy faced. Now, this president has done that. Today, on your show this evening, I think that this president has been vindicated. The inflation has peaked because, all of those input factors have stabilized. Now, the benefits of this reform are beginning to show. That's why you see these numbers beginning to come down. And over the next month, I dare say, I am willing to speculate that we're going to come under, sub 20.
Yeah, I mean, that would be good news.
Yes.
And I want to hear it. I want to hear that the price of yam, I love yam, is my favorite food. The price of beans, that's another favorite food of mine. I would love those prices to come down so that I can have less money to pay and transportation, and those who beg me for money and ask me for money because I wear good suit on television will not have, they can fend for themselves. Now, the question here, Mr. Moka, Nigerians will be hard on President Tinubu and the APC, one, because of their promises, two, on the fact that there are one or two policies that this government made and it pummeled the economy. And he says, look, those policies, yes, will add effect on the economy, but things are going to get better. The economy is highly emotional. It's very difficult to get into the positive, very easy to go into the negative. And that's why Nigerians are very hard on this government. And the hope that they are looking for is how fast, the urgency of getting us out. And what Atiku is warning, if you remove Atiku's name from the warning that he gave, he said, look, we are seeing the traces of what caused Arab Spring. We are seeing the traces of what caused revolution in other climes. He's warning your government that you should not lead Nigerians, the APC that is running this country today, don't lead Nigerians into revolution and don't topple this country. That is a warning.
I thought at some point you said we should forget Atiku.
Yeah, I said remove his name.
Remove his name.
But look at the narrative. Look at the issues that he raised.
If you remove Atiku's name, there's nothing he's saying that we today
about the hunger levels.
No, hang on.
Yeah.
There's nothing he's saying today that should concern Nigerians or lead Nigerians to that point where the kinds of language he used, which I won't repeat any further, become actually something that we should be concerned about. Because we're dealing with an economy that is showing potential like never before. This economy, you've been on, you said, look, you talk about being, a political economist, if I'm not mistaken.
I'm a student.
A student. When was the last time that you know of in the history of this country when we recorded the level of, just trade surpluses that we're recording today, back to back? When was the last time that this country is, scoring big, lowering imports, and, just optimizing non-oil exports? This article we're discussing, under his administration from 1999, these guys had a windfall. It was like manna from windfall. What did they do with it? This same article has publicly confessed about how they squandered $21 billion meant to give us electricity. Has he forgotten? You see, when Nigerians speak about things, about economics, sometimes I listen, I read, because they have a right to speak. But when people who have been entrusted with mandate, with authority to solve a problem and failed miserably to solve it, when they come along after the fact to speak about, the failures of subsequent governments, I think a man like Atiku, with due respect, on this question, should be quiet.
So, on a final note, the thing for me right now will be that this president has also, and this government has scored some points in history. Some in the positive, others in the negative. We've seen the peak of our negative rise in some part of our economic indices under this government. And the fact that Nigerians need to be managed, and that's why I want to plead with you tonight. This country belongs to all of us. We have a nation to run. Can your party manage people by communicating better with them? If you have plans for the nearest future, this warning, remove Atiku or PDP or APC. This warning that is being given, I'm worried. I don't have any other country. I don't have two passports. That these hunger levels and this poverty level does not lead into chaos in this country. Can your party communicate more to Nigeria about this, your renewed hope agenda?
Actually, I think we're actually getting past renewed hope now. This is hope coming alive. This government is really taking an economy that was in, tatters and began to renovate, to reconstruct the economy at its foundations. The economy today is standing on solid ground. I think it was, the former CBN governor, Sanusi, who, again, doubled down to say that, the policy of this government saved this country from, economic collapse. And that is true. You see, the point, Shehu, is that Nigerians that we're discussing are not as naive as sometimes we make them out to be. These Nigerians are smart people. They are seeing the sign. Look, I have friends who have invested in the stock market who have told me, lawyers, that they're making more money from the stock market today than they've made in their practice over the last, 10, 15 years. So the economy is getting better. Farmers are smiling more today than they ever did. People who offer value, who create value in this economy, whether they are tailors, they are designers, or they are, computer, technicians, they are making money. The people who
in the middle of that is the abject poverty. So there might be wealth.
Poverty has
30 million more people projected. No, you know the fact.
My dear brother,
and these are not facts created by you and I. The fact remains that yet some people are being rich. But look at the number of people that are being dipped into poverty in the last 1.5 years.
Look, 2 years. In 2 years, do you know what has happened to this country?
You don't worry that more people are going into poverty.
What you described as people going into poverty, resulted, if you want to look at the last 2 years, were consequences, as we say, and we have said repeatedly, as the president has said, momentary, transient difficulties that are beginning now to, evaporate. They're beginning to, reset. And that's why you see all of the indicators today are beginning to point, positively, in the positive direction. And I think that going forward, we're going to see that sustaining.
Right.
When inflation come under 20,
we'll see.
We will.
The United Nations 2024 report said 33 million Nigerians are at the risk of hunger. And this was this part of the issue.
What was the number in
the question?
In 1999? What was the number in 2006? Was there a time some Nigerians were not hungry?
But in 20... let me read out. Hold on. If you don't take that. In 2015,
yes.
Nigeria was one of the fastest growing economies in 2015. Ranking third globally according to CNN Money, right behind China and Qatar. The country's economy was expected to grow by 7% in 2015. So we had a country that economy
based on phantom economic foundations and realities. You can't grow an economy by simply, enacting and dictating the value of your currency. We were not producing anything to back that up. It was simply oil revenues. Oil revenue at that point was probably, anywhere near 99%. Yeah. So look, that's not... Look, listen, I'm not an economist, but I know enough about economics to know that what you're discussing was pure phantom. It was unreal. And that's why I think Nigerians were led into this false idea that life was better yesterday than it is today. Today is the reality. Yeah. Today is the real economy. So what you see today, you get. What you invest, and you make a profit, go home and sleep. Which is why people can take their money now. Some countries today are accepting a naira in exchange for goods and services.
Thank you so much.
So it's a wonderful dish. And I think that in the future even we get so much better.
Those of you who sit in the palaces need to be careful. You are sitting in a glass house. May Nepal not happen to this country. May Tunisia not happen to us. May Egypt not happen to us.
And the likes of Atiku, please,
Felix Monka,
he needs to rest.
APC spokesperson. Thank you so much indeed for your time tonight.
Thank you.
Still ahead, everyone. State of security in the country gets our attention as we seek ways to stabilize the country in a fragile peace state it currently experiences. We'll be joined by a former commissioner of police, Emmanuel Ojukwu, to navigate how conversations can be held with those who are killing innocent people. And thanks so much, everyone, for staying with us. Now, let's turn our attention to security. The government of Katsina State in northern Nigeria says it is offering industrial tools and new homes to repentant bandits and displaced families as part of efforts to stabilize communities ravaged by years of violence. Governor Diko Rada announced a plan at a high-level consultation in Katsina, pledging 152 houses for internally displaced households in Jibia, alongside business support packages and livestock distribution. His administration says security remains top priority, while also highlighting major investments in education, healthcare, infrastructure, and agriculture. But the policy comes as local communities in some of the state's most vulnerable areas are striking their own peace deals with armed groups. In Faskari, bandit leaders, among them Men on Nigeria's most wanted list were seen attending talks with village elders, agreeing to halt attacks and release abductees in exchange for freedom of movement and market access. The involvement of notorious figures such as Alero and Kwashe Gawa has raised concerns that wanted men are being legitimized as negotiators, echoing the collapse of past amnesty programs in the state. Where analysts are now warning the strategy could either calm tensions or deepen insecurity if the fragile accords break down. Let's take a look at these more closely and what this means, especially as we see more states in Nigeria now battling with bandit attacks in states like Kogi, Kwara, states now that before now don't experience a level of attacks or bandit or violence-related attacks and now expressing it almost on a daily basis. I'm being joined by Mr. Emmanuel Ojukwu, as a retired commissioner of police and a security consultant. His life for us here now. So thanks so much indeed for joining us tonight.
Thank you. Good evening.
You see that kind of carrot approach,
yes,
which security expert like you will say is part of an approach in calming, reducing tension and reducing violence in the carrot or the stick. Now, you've seen the carrot approach is being used by former Governor Masari. Now, Governor Rada is employing similar thing. It collapsed at some point when Governor Masari said, no, this is enough. We're not going to do it any longer. We see him standing side by side with bandits. But now Governor Rada is saying, come and let us resign. You see arms and ammunition, heavy cache of ammunition with these guys. Do you think that this is sustainable?
It cannot be sustained because the bandits, their motive is money and power. They want to show that they can dare where angels are afraid to tread on. And they can subdue government. That's part of it. And they keep getting money more and more, and doing virtually nothing with it. So when you keep pandering to their wishes, trying to beg them, it is part of the non-kinetic approach. It's part of trying to understand what is there. But the major thing, which is part of what I just said now, you need to understand why these people are doing what they're doing and how to bridge, how to stop them from continuing along that trajectory. The government, there are boots on ground quite all right, but it's not paying off dividends because the communities themselves are complicit in a way. And they've been cowed into fear by the kind of arms and the presence these terrorists have in communities. Or they share part of the bargain. It is here. Now these terrorists or bandits, they live within the communities. Some of them have been top banned and they're giving chieftains titles and giving pride of places in many areas. And over time, they have normalized it. It's almost normal now. If there's no banditry, I think maybe something wrong is happening. So the abnormal has become normal. There has to be a holistic approach to this. Find out what is happening and remove the victim from source and stop oxygen from getting to these people. Government must show that it has the teeth to bite and to bite forcefully on this bad one. We cannot keep reinforcing bad behavior.
You see the report that some of these top bandit leaders are the ones that are, they are giving access for payments for citizens to go to market. To do. I mean, and when government now say, okay, let's sit down and talk about this, because the real fact is that some of these people are said to be drawn or pushed into some of these nefarious activities, just like banditry, because of economic situation. Is one of the reasons they're being given. And it does look to me that some of the governments who are engaging in this are frustrated and pushed to the wall and knowing not what to do, because some of these bandits are embedded into the communities, and the community, some of the citizens and community people have some kind of bias or allegiance to some of these people. Makes it difficult to tackle, isn't it?
This banditry is not imported, it is homegrown. People say something made crayfish to bend. We need to find out why they are doing what they are doing. And there's to stop that thing from continuing. So long as the basic things have not been done, the necessary thoughts, process have not gone into why there is banditry in KB, in this state, in Zamfara, they will continue. Again, there is need for deterrence. If you don't show that you disapprove of what they're doing. And I saw one governor, I think that of Zamfara, saying that he knows where they are on his phone. He could tell them. But anytime they go to Abuja, something happens. That means there's somebody somewhere, in Abuja or elsewhere, who is fueling it, who is benefiting from the insecurity in those states. Banditry favors somebody a top notcher in government. And except they have the willingness to now govern their people and give them peace, they will not stop. So long as they think that they should keeping the people down, maltreating them, eating from them, buying new cars, flying here and there, enjoying the best of life, when the people are in abject poverty, this thing will continue. And so long as Nigeria keeps worshipping wealth, riches, we look at they will say the end justifies the means. That's not true. The end should be judged by the means. Somebody has too much money, he throws it around, people hail him. He becomes a mentor. A bad person cannot be my mentor.
And I ask you, Mr. Atiku, under this IG of police, Kayode Egbetokun, we've seen an elite team has been put together, specially trained. And they're supposed to, in a short time, to be able to move in. And you ask again, these governors, they're getting more money from the center.
Sure.
And we should see signs that these monies are being used to protect the people in whom they govern. Right.
Yes.
Community policing, state policing. We've mounted all of these methods and options. More money to the state. We've seen this elite team by the put in place by the IG of police. Are these working? How can we synergize and cross the T's and dot the I's?
There must be the political will to stop insecurity. The political will to give good governance to the people. Some of these bad elements are operating because there's lack of governance in the areas where they're operating. They become the alternative.
So bad governance is
a key factor. Part of it also is that the elites will have today have a conspiracy to keep people down and to maintain the status quo, which is poor policing system. The poorer the police are, the more impoverished they are, the more ill-equipped they are, the more ill-trained they are, the better for those who are in power.
So police need to be more funded. Police need...
That's right. By who? By the same government. The police does not generate money. It doesn't fund itself. Nigerians fund their police. I was first parent and I said, the police is your baby. The way you dress your baby is the way to be addressed. You've not recruited police properly because some of them believe that whoever they recommend must enter the police. And I've known IGs that were frustrated because some Nigerians felt that somebody must be taken into the police.
Because again, Mr. Atiku, you've traveled across the globe and you see how some police officers are kitted with a walkie-talkie, with cameras on their body.
That's right.
In their vehicles, you can run the number plates of a car and easily know who is driving the car. On the streets, you can easily use the camera with AI now to be able to... In Enugu State, for example, Lagos State, they have central control unit where you can see almost every part of the state in one room.
Yes.
You know, and you wonder, why is it that even the stick of our police sometimes are looking so...
The button.
The button.
Good. The police does not fund itself. We Nigerians, in section 214 of our constitution, said we give ourselves a Nigeria police force. We give ourselves. I believe the police should be closed down, shut down completely, and Nigerians should sit and decide whether they want the police or not. If they want police, these are things you have to provide for your police to function. Right now, the police are being blamed every day for inefficiency, for bad conduct. Meanwhile, you have not provided for them.
And the police have been turned to beggars Because
everywhere.
You know where you find beggars? You know where you find beggars?
On the streets.
On the street. Where do you find the police asking for money?
I don't know. Police asking for money, they're arrested and they're dealt with. This year alone.
You find beggars on the street, you find police asking you for something on the street.
The budget for the police, 0 allocation for capital budget. Ordinary overhead to run the police on a daily basis. Just 2 days ago, they got the one for May. We are in September.
Well, I saw a story about some budget, Biden buying these and criticism of the police and how contracts are all of that being.
It's just taken out of context. And what they call half-truth. You know, half-truth is misinformation. Half-truth is also disinformation. Half-truth is fake news. I saw it in one platform, and my friend asking me, then I went to investigate. What happened? Police, the IG, said, look, we have policemen in theaters of operation, and they need what they call dry ration. Biscuits, tea, powdered milk, sardine, cornflakes, sugar, and the rest of them, which I enjoyed while I was in the mobile police for 8 years. So the current IG reintroduced it kind of, and it began to fly. Now, when you go to what they call the GIF mix system, Government Integrated Financial Management Information System, you must upload what you are buying for government to pay the contractor. In that platform, you have like 35 words to put to show what you're doing. What that journalist posted was available, it's still available on the GIF system. You can access it. When you find it, you find a few words to buy 25 cartons of this at 24,000, a million and all that. No. The truth is that that voucher contained like 12 other items, including biscuit and things I mentioned for you now. So if you are buying 25 cartons of biscuit at 24,000 each, would that give you 7 million? It will not.
All right, give me a moment.
Yes.
We go on a break, and when we return, my question to Mr. Ojukwu is, where do we go from here? He's seen it all. He retired as a commissioner of police in the police, so he has an understanding. Is the state police in the option? What are the National Assembly members doing about this? We'll be right back after this break, everyone. Join us again. Thank you so much, everyone, for staying with us. Our concluding moments now with Mr. Emmanuel Ojukwu, a retired commissioner of police. Now, you have said we need more money to run the Nigerian police force. And you have said the concern some people have about that item of the budget in the Nigerian police is misconstrued and misinformation. But beyond that, it's also the promise the president made that under his government, there will be more boots on the ground. You look at the ratio of the Nigerian police officer to the Nigerian citizen, you see that we are falling short of the United Nations standard. More money for welfare, for ammunition, to police Nigeria, more boots on the ground. But fundamentally, this issue of state police, why do we mouth it? Is it something that we work or not?
Well, I favor state policing. But the thing is that not in the present system. So long as our philosophy of power is poor and warped, Nigerians need a proper reorientation of the philosophy of power. Some time ago, there was an incident between the Lagos State governor and the police officer at the theater of operation, where he went to stop him from what he was doing. Someone was saying, if it was state police, that's why we're asking for state police. So governor will come and give an order. Governor is chief security officer. That is where it stops. He's not the chief police officer. But if it were under state police, that officer would have bowed and would have lost it. If you want state police, you need to provide the type of police you want. Who are those qualified to enter? What are the parameters? What is the condition of service? As we speak today, Nigeria police has no condition of service because we have not given them that condition.
But you heard what the Zamfara State governor said. The tone in his voice, in his language, is such that, yes, I know what is going on, but I don't have power to be able to kill.
Part of it. The government came out and said they want to have state police. Change it in the constitution 214. Remove it, amend it. That is the first step. Number 2, each state was asked to bring framework on how to implement state policing. A few states did not bring. Some say they prefer the current system because the poorer the police is, the more they're able to manipulate them. One governor will have 200 policemen in his house. You're talking about the ratio of police to the citizens. 200 in his house, doing what? To carry back. To show his power. Philosophy of power is very, very poor. If you're having police, how much do you pay them? It is what you pay them that they retire with. Some of them retire now with any 80,000 naira. After 30 years of service. You find them protesting. Because salary was poor, pension is poor. So you live in penury all your life because you chose to be a policeman. That's not fair.
All right.
So we must decide what we want, how much we pay them, how we train them, how we motivate them. Otherwise, we ain't going nowhere, as the Americans will say, when it comes to state police.
Mr. Emmanuel Ojoko, a retired commissioner of police with still a lot of knowledge and expertise. Thank you so much. Always a pleasure having you on the program.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much indeed.
Right.
But that's our show for tonight, everyone. Many thanks for watching. I'm Sean Kimaloe. God bless Nigeria.